Well, good day and welcome, my friends, to the Hebraic Living Walking with Messiah broadcast. We're excited to have you here with us today as we explore the rich traditions and teachings of Hebraic living, guiding you on a journey to walk in alignment with your Messiah. Whether you're seeking spiritual growth, practical insights, or a deeper connection with your faith, this show is here to inspire and uplift you. Now, in last week's episode, we finished our series on the blessings of tithing. We studied the festival tithes, the blessings that come from tithing, and what Yeshua and the apostles taught, and how the ministry is to properly use those tithes. You know, we have the holy days coming up here very quickly, Sukkot and the Feast of Tabernacles, and I hope each and every one of you are planning to attend in some capacity during these fall holy days. Now, in today's episode, entitled Take Charge of Your Health, Part 1, we will discuss degenerative diseases and how God provides all the healing foods and herbs that we need to heal and maintain a healthy body. Now, remember to plug in every Tuesday at the same time to see the show live, and you can also view it on demand on the lambnetwork.tv website. Each show is also recorded on the Daily Torah YouTube channel. Now, welcome to all of our new listeners, and if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a single episode. And remember, my friends, to share these messages with your social media friends and family. If you have your Bible or notepads handy, get them ready and let's begin. We do indeed have a lot to discuss today, so let's get into it. Let me get the slideshow loaded up and we will begin. So today we're going to talk about take charge of your health. This is something that I have been studying since I was like in my 20s, back in the 80s. I had some health issues. Actually, it was after Sukkot, after the Feast of Tabernacles. I come back one year. I was down in Florida. I think I was in Daytona Beach or Clearwater. I forget exactly where. And I got this bad sinus infection when I got back from the feast. And it just went on and on and on. And I never went to the doctor. I was trying to heal myself with herbs and medicines, but I didn't really know what I was doing. My friend turned me on to a doctor, a naturopath doctor up in the Poconos. He had a place called the Clinic of Hope. And this doctor treated people with cancers and heart disease and all kinds of degenerative diseases. They came from all over the world back then to meet with him. There was no internet back then. There was no like Whole Foods. There was no real health food stores, and it was just beginning to take off in America, the health practices. And he was an herbalist. He was a chiropractor. He did chelation therapy intravenously that helped people get healed from heart disease and from cancers and liver problems and high cholesterol. And him and I become good friends, and he took some blood tests and he said, Jeff, your liver enzymes are all out of whack. Let's get you on a program and get you healed. And so he put me on this supplement program, this massive supplement program. I went on fasting. I went on a vegetarian diet. And in about 8 months, I was completely healed. Liver enzymes were back to normal. Everything was functioning as it should have been. And him and I went on to become good friends. I studied health and nutrition with him. He gave seminars every week, and I used to plug in, and I learned and soaked in everything that I could because I was convinced that God created everything that we needed to heal our bodies. Since then, I've become a certified herbalist. We actually started our own herbal um, company years ago before COVID. We had our own little company that we were doing, and I've kind of like resurrected that now. And so I wanted to share what I have been teaching for many years now on taking charge of your health, because I see as Messianic community believers, I see people every day that are obese, have health problems, heart problems, cancers. Oh, a friend of ours is just already dealing with cancer issues right now. So things are happening in the country, in the world, no matter where you are, where health and nutrition is needed. But our diseases are they're running rampant. They're growing. Instead of evolving as a people, as humanity, we seem to be devolving into getting sicker and sicker because the foods that we eat are filled with poisons, and the food companies have become these great conglomerates, and they're trying to poison us and make things as cheaply as they can, and filling it with all kinds of chemicals and preservatives. So if we're not eating organically based wild fish, wild harvested fruits and vegetables and organic based food, where we suffer, we have an increased chance of getting sick. And so I just wanted to take these next 2 weeks and share with you what I have learned over the last 30 years. And I hope that you um, receive something out of it, and that it's edifying to you. And if you're having issues, I hope that it can help you in some way. Again, just a disclaimer, I am not a doctor, and anything that I say or do cannot be used as doctor advice for healing or anything, because I don't want to get in trouble by the American Medical Association. But God is giving us all the herbs, everything that we need to heal our bodies. And that's what I want to share with you today. So my friends, we want to take charge of our health, right? We don't want to go to doctors and have them prescribe and push pills on us that end up giving us side effects. And then we end up taking a pill to counterbalance that side effect. No, we want to take charge of our own health. And the only way we can do that is if we're educated with what God has given. God, if you look all around you, right? Look at all the variety of fruits and vegetables and herbs and everything that He has given us on this planet for food, for medicine, and to heal our bodies. Unfortunately, we have lost a lot of this knowledge throughout time. Adam and the pre-flood descendants of ours, they lived to be 900 years old. And then when the flood came and the atmosphere was changed, man still lived a couple hundred years old. But then little by little, we went down to where we were like about 120 was about the average. And now in today's modern society, if you get into your 70s and your 80s, you're doing really good. Some live to be in their 90s, and the very few live to be above 100. But most of us during those times, I mean, we have degenerative diseases that are passed down from generation to generation, and bad eating habits, and we end up getting sicker and sicker and be put on medicines. And then, God forbid, we take surgeries to fix this or fix that, and then that creates all kinds of problems. End up removing this organ and that organ and doing this bypass, and it's just a mess. And the doctors just butcher us up, and they think they're practicing good medicine, and it does help some people. But in reality, if we just knew what God had given us and how to eat properly and how to exercise and how to take the healing herbs and the foods that God has given us, we would be a lot healthier for a lot longer in our lives. So the bottom line is, my friends, we want to live long enough to fulfill the destiny that God has given us. And this is the reason that Satan, cursed be he, does all he can to destroy us with bad food, bad water, pollution, stress, everything he throws at us to shorten our lives so that we cannot fulfill the destiny that God has given us. And what is that destiny? To go and preach the gospel of the coming kingdom of God. And so if we're sick, we can't do his work. And so Satan wins and we end up dying before our time. And we don't want that to happen. So we need to take charge of our health so that we can live long enough to fulfill our destiny. Now, are you, my friends, right now suffering from any type of degenerative disease? I mean, look at these statistics. Now, these are a little outdated because I did this slide several years ago, but it still applies. It's worse today than back then because chronic diseases are the leading causes of death and disability in the United States of America, such as heart disease, stroke, cancer, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and arthritis are among the most common, costly, and preventable of all health problems. Yes, those diseases are preventable. They are just not natural causes that are luck of the draw. Oh, I have this or I have that. No, they are preventable. Now, half of all our adults in America had one or more chronic health conditions. 1 in 4 adults and 2 or more have chronic health conditions. 7 of the top 10 cases of death are chronic diseases. 2 of these chronic diseases, heart disease and cancer, together account for nearly 46%. It's probably more like 50% today of all deaths. And I'm sure each and every one of you, if not yourself, have suffered from heart disease or cancer. And hopefully, if you've had that, you have been healed from that. Some of you may be suffering that right now. Now, look at obesity. You know, when I was growing up, I hardly remember anyone being fat. I was a skinny, scrawny little kid because I was outside all the time. We didn't have TVs, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have video games. Man, I got home from school, I threw my books in the house, and I was outside running the mountain, riding my bike, climbing, hiking, fishing, playing baseball. I was outside until it got dark and mom called me in for dinner. And that's how most of us lived during those days. We were active. We were outside having fun. We were filled with activity. And you hardly ever saw anyone fat, even grown-ups, unless you were super rich and you just ate a rich diet. But most people worked hard, they worked long, and they were in good shape. Look at this. Arthritis is the most common cause of disability. Of the 54 million adults with doctor-diagnosed arthritis, more than 23 million say they have trouble with their usual activities because of arthritis. Also, diabetes is the leading cause of kidney failure, lower limb amputations, other than those caused by injury, and new cases of blindness among adults. My friends, how many people have you known that have been on dialysis and they have kidney issues? That's a slow death, right? No one really recovers from that unless you have a kidney transplant. It's a slow death over time. And you'll live out maybe 10 years at the max, but then slowly but surely your body will shut down on you. And we have known so many friends and family, even in the Messianic community, that have suffered this and have passed away, and God rest their souls. We look forward to when the resurrection comes and we have renewed, glorified bodies. But for now, my friends, we need to be taking charge of our health. We need to make it a priority in our life. We need to do whatever we can to stay healthy. Now, here's some more statistics. Health risk behaviors are unhealthy behaviors you can change. 4 of these health risk behaviors: lack of exercise or physical activity, poor nutrition, tobacco use, and drinking too much alcohol, cause much of the illness, suffering, and early death related to chronic diseases and conditions. In 2015, and I'm sure it's even higher statistics today, 50% of adults age 18 years or older did not meet recommendations for aerobic physical activity, just like I was saying. In addition, 79% did not meet recommendations for both aerobic and muscle strengthening physical activity. What about you, my friends? Are you out there every day walking? Walking is the best exercise. You don't need to run. You don't need to go to the gym and do ellipticals and do treadmill and all that. Just get outside, find a nice trail, and walk a mile, 2 miles, up to 3, maybe 5 miles a day if you can. I take my little dog, Baxter. Everyone, a lot of you are friends. I know Baxter. He's the cutest little thing you ever saw. And him and I go for a walk. We went out for a walk this morning before the sun was just getting up. And we enjoy the cool breeze in the morning. We see birds. We see the sky, the sun coming up. And we just enjoy that. And we walk, I think this morning we probably walked a mile and a half, or not quite 2 miles, and then came back. And then tonight we'll walk some more. So twice a day we get out, and I usually walk a few miles each and every day. And then we want to do some strength training. Maybe you want to do some isometrics. You don't need any fancy machines. You can just do push-ups, sit-ups, squat thrusts. You can just do those simple exercises that we all learned when we went to school, the calisthenics that we learned, jumping jacks, things of that nature, just like they do in the Army. Right? When you go to the military, do you see them? Do they have like Lifetime Fitness or 24-hour fitness gyms? No. Get down and give me 20 push-ups. How many of you can do 20 push-ups today? I know it can be hard, but start 1, 2, and then add them. Just keep going and strengthen yourself. Do the best you can to keep yourself in shape. Now, another statistic, more than 1 in 3 adults have at least one type of cardiovascular disease. About 90% of Americans aged 2 years or older consume too much sodium, which can increase their risk of high blood pressure. We know that. Look at the nutrition labels of all the foods you eat. There's so much sodium and salt in everything we eat. Add to that sugar and salt added to all of our foods. And that creates a lot of issues. Another statistic, in 2015, more than 37% of adolescents and 40% of adults said they ate fruit less than once a day, while 39% of adolescents and 22% of adults said they ate vegetables less than once a day. My friends, God has given us such a variety of fruits and vegetables, and all those fruits and vegetables contain enzymes and amino acids and vitamins and nutrients that nourish our body, and they get right into our bloodstream. You don't need to take pills and pop this and pop that. No, we just need to eat fresh fruits and vegetables, organic fruits and vegetables, so that we can get those needed enzymes, because you can't get enzymes in a pill. You can only get enzymes from fresh fruit. The same with amino acids. They can synthesize amino acids to a degree, but you really should be getting it from fresh fruit and vegetables. Now look at this other statistic in the second to the last paragraph. An estimated 36.5 million adults in the United States, that's 15% of, said that they currently smoke cigarettes in 2015. I don't know what the percentage is today, but cigarette smoking accounts for more than 480,000 deaths each year. Each day, more than 3,200 youth younger than 18 smokes their first cigarette, and another 2,100 youth and young adults smoke every now and then they become daily habitual smokers. You know, my mom, she smoked every day. She smoked since she was like 12 years old. I never smoked. I'm the only one in the family, I don't think, who ever smoked. But all my relatives, my grandmother, my grandfather, my aunts and uncles, everyone smoked. but I never took the habit up. I don't know why. It just never entered me. I think I tried it once or twice. And I said, this stuff's disgusting. I don't see what you guys get out of it. And you got to pay for this, and you just throw it away and make you cough and make you stink. I said, hey, it's not for me. So I don't smoke. Now look at this other statistic: drinking, too much alcohol, responsible for 88,000 deaths each year, more than half of which are due to binge drinking. U.S. Adults report binge drinking an average of 4 times a month. That's like every weekend, right? Yeah, go out there, the week's over. Hey, let's get drunk. Let's drink as much alcohol we can until we get sick to our stomach and pass out. That's a lot of fun, right? Wake up with a headache the next day. How many of you have done that? Not for me either. I don't do that. But hey, if it's, you got to break that habit, because you're going to kill your liver, man. You keep drinking like that, and you're going to have cirrhosis of the liver, and it doesn't take long to destroy that thing. So those are some of the stats, my friends, just to share those with you. Now, what about the detours of Western medicine, right? We think Western medicine is the best, but it focuses on the cure rather than prevention. And that is the big issue. They wait till you get sick, and then they give you a pill or a surgery to cure what happened to you, instead of helping you prevent getting sick in the first place. Then we have the corruption of major medical establishments. Why do you think these doctors all drive around with Jaguars and Porsches? Because they make a lot of money pushing pills and doing surgeries. And those of you who have gone through that and gone to the doctors, you know, like a heart surgery, costs you $250,000 to have open heart surgery. And then there's this overemphasizing of one theory of disease over all others. You know, they never want to introduce natural practices. It's taboo for Western medicine. Eastern medicine, on the other hand, like traditional Chinese medicine, they focus on herbs and roots and teas and tinctures and things to help heal the body. You know, the yin and the yang, they always discuss that, bringing everything into balance and healing the organs of the body, sometimes like through acupuncture, chiropractic, kinesiology. Those types of practices help heal the body. You know, I go to my Messianic kinesiologist friend like once a month. He works on my body, he adjusts me, and I am totally free of any, back pain, hip pain. And it comes once in a while because I was born with scoliosis. As many of you may know that or don't know that. But that was one thing back in the 80s when I went to Dr. LaQuasta at the Clinic of Hope. You know, he helped me with that too, keeping aligned, keeping healthy. And you know what the doctors, let me tell you about this, my friend. There's another testimony. I'm just telling you things from my own personal experience. When I was a kid growing up in high school, you know what the doctors recommended to my parents, my mom and dad? They wanted to put one of those steel rods in my back. You know, they if you ever saw it, man, it's gross. They slice open your back, and they kind of like use wires and stuff to put this rod in your back to try to make you straight. Basically, take out your spine and put a rod in there. That's, if they would have done that when I was a young kid, I would be crippled today. I'd be in a wheelchair walking around. And here I am, 62 years old, and I'm hiking mountains. All right. And yeah, I get back pain once in a while, but through massage therapy, kinesiology, I'm able to go and hike mountains. I'm able to go outside and walk. I'm able to go out. I have no limitations. Okay. So I get out there every day, and I'm like a normal person. In fact, my kinesiologist friend says, Jeff, your back is getting straighter. And I say, hallelujah, because the scripture says God will take the crooked things and make them straight. So he says my back is getting straighter. So, all I can do is praise God for that, because I've been doing this for like 30 years and I feel vibrant. I feel good. I'm getting a couple wrinkles under my neck here, but that's about it. Other than that, I feel like I'm in great shape. So, praise God for that. Now look at this, my friends. Look, These are the diseases caused by a rich Western diet. Look at these diseases. Systemic diseases like allergies, arthritis, arteriosclerosis, diabetes, gout, heart attacks, hormone imbalances, hypertension, that's high blood pressure, kidney failure, kidney stones, multiple sclerosis, obesity, osteoporosis, and strokes. Look at these bowel disorders in the middle column, appendicitis, colitis, constipation. How many of you suffer from that every day? Diarrhea, uh, diverticulosis, gallstones, gastritis, hemorrhoids, hiatus hernias, indigestions, malabsorption, polyps, ulcers. Look at all those issues that people suffer from eating a rich Western diet. And then we have the cancer column: breast, colon, kidney, pancreas, prostate, testicle, uterus. These are all the things that people in America and in the Western cultures, and now I believe even in Eastern cultures, I come back from the Philippines, a lot of these diseases are very prevalent now, even in the Asian culture, especially in China. Even though they practice traditional Chinese medicine, they eat unclean food. And they eat a lot of stuff, and MSG is very prevalent, and a lot of bad food over there. But they eat a lot of natural, healthy, or organic based stuff too. But I'll tell you, these diseases are running rampant throughout the world, just not in the Western societies now. Now, my friends, here are the 3 keys to health that we're going to be discussing the rest of today and next week. 1, we need to detoxify our bodies. All right. We need to get all the junk out, all the pesticides, the chemicals, the smog. We need to get all this stuff out of our cells, heavy metals, mercury poisoning, things like that are in our water or soil or foods. We need to get it out of our bodies, and we have ways to do that. Number 2, we need to strengthen our immune system. Once we get detoxified, we need to keep our immune system strengthened. And then number 3, we need to nourish each of our body's cells. You know what the mitochondria are? Those are the little nuclear parts of our cells that do all the work. And the mitochondria are always working and keeping our cells healthy and vibrant. And we need strong mitochondria in our cells so that they will not be subjected to free radicals, which end up becoming cancers. And then the good cells of our body, when cells do break down and they do go bad, these good cells, our white blood vessels, or white blood cells, they go out and they attack these bad cells, they destroy them, and then they're flushed out of the system before they can multiply and turn into cancers. Because once cancer starts, very hard to reverse it and to kill all those bad cancers. So that's why they radiate everything, but they kill the good and the bad, hoping that they kill everything and that they can give you enough medicines or prescription drugs to help the white blood cells come back into the good, and then keep the cancer cells out. But as we know, a lot of times those cancer cells come back even worse than before. So we need to be able to get our immune systems in order. Now, how do we do that? How do we take charge of our health? This is what we're going to be studying. 1, we're going to learn about what's called the Genesis diet. And we're going to learn that the Genesis diet heals. We're going to learn about pure water. We're going to learn about pure air and non-toxic household chemicals. We're going to learn about detoxifying our bodies and the healing value of vitamins, enzymes, antioxidants, and herbs. And then we're going to learn about the healing value of exercise and the healing value of faith, hope, and love. Because when we have a sound mind, we have faith, we have hope. That is a magnificent fortress and conducive to helping us fight. If we're sick, we need to have a positive attitude, mind over body. A lot of times we need the will to survive, the will to live, the will to be healed, and then God provides his Ruach, his Holy Spirit, to enter in and to help our bodies heal. And that is where the faith comes in, that we have a God who does heal. He loves us, he cares for us, and he will heal us. And many times there's believers that, for whatever reason, they succumb to certain diseases and they do pass away. But there is the hope of the resurrection, where we will have a glorified body, a healed body. And that person, maybe God is just saying, hey, you fought the good fight, and I'm just going to give you rest now. Just like he gave all the patriarchs and all the apostles, comes a time in our life when God says, hey, it's time to rest, time to sleep. And then when you wake up, I will be there, and I will give you a new body, of a glorious body, free of any pain, free of any disease, and you will be with me forever. So take hope in that. Don't get discouraged if I'm preaching that, God's going to heal you, and God heals. He does heal. But for whatever reason, there are times when our faith, or the faith of a person, a loved one, is being used for an example for someone else, and they are strong enough and they can pass on, and God knows that they're going to make it, they're going to be there, and when they wake up, they will be fine. So we have that hope and faith of the future resurrection. But in the meantime, we need to do the best that we can to keep ourselves healthy. Now, one tool that I can share with you, and I haven't done this yet, I have to wait till after this records, but I will put this in the comment section, or actually the episode section, probably later today or tomorrow. I'll give you the links to everything I'm going to share with you today. But we have a thing that we can share with you called the Nutraphysical. Now, identifying areas of nutrition where you need extra supplementation is a difficult task. Harder still is wading through the vast assortment of vitamins and minerals that claim, how many times do we see that on TV? All these ads, they claim to improve your health and well-being. Maybe you have a rough idea of where to start, but why leave anything to chance? That's why we developed the Nutraphysical Nutritional Analysis, a free tool that can help you choose the proper supplementation regimen based on your diet and lifestyle. The result of your Nutraphysical are based on overall best fit, derived from your answers to a detailed online questionnaire that takes into account diet, exercise, family history, personal habits, and more. Unlike other health questionnaires, the Nutraphysical explores all aspects of your diet, lifestyle, and fitness to make concrete recommendations. So I'm going to put this link in. I want you to take this if you can, and then every 3 or 4 months come back, retake it, and receive new supplement recommendations at no cost. It's easy, it's customizable, and it's free. 3 great reasons to take your Nutraphysical today. So I have a little action plan for you. You can take a screenshot of this. I give this teaching a lot at different congregations and seminars. I'm giving it to you today, and I will put all these links in the episode section. Just look for it when you open up the episode on YouTube. But we want to take assessment of your current health and wellness. You need to know where to start, right? And what your current assessment is. And doing that by taking the Nutraphysical, you will be able to know where to start, and it will I want you to begin creating also a positive state of mind that you are going to take charge of your health, that you are going to be healthy, that you are going to be healed if you are suffering from anything, and that God loves you, he cares for you, and you're going to have the faith and the hope and the love to go forward. And if someone in your family needs this, I ask that you share this with them and then support them with love and encouragement and help them get through these times of trial. So we're going to assess, define, and create. And that's what your action plan is for today. Part of it, we have a couple more that we're going to get into now. We're going to learn about the Genesis diet and how it heals. There's so many diet crazes today, right, my friends? You got the paleo diet, you got the carnivore diet, you got the keto diet, the Mediterranean diet, the fasting once in a while diet. Have all these diets, right? And one says this, one says that, and all of them work for a little bit, but as soon as you get off of them, your weight is going to come right back. You know why? Because your fat cells, they shrink a little bit, but then when you stop doing things, those fat cells will reinflate again. The Genesis diet is going to be a lifelong diet. It's a lifestyle, just like a Messianic walk is a lifestyle. The Hebraic living is a lifestyle. The Genesis diet heals. In Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, what does Hosea write? He says, God's encouraged Hosea, inspired Hosea to write, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And so the Genesis diet brings that knowledge back of everything that God has created to eat and to keep us healthy. Now, does the Bible contain answers to society's dilemmas? Sure, certainly it does. Why did God give us the Genesis diet? To be healthy. And now, what is the Genesis diet? Let's take a look. Now, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, God wrote, and he also wrote earlier on the third day when he created everything, the green herbs and the green food. But in Genesis 1:29, he summarizes, he says, and God said, see, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed, to you it shall be for food. Now, granted, this was before the flood, and everyone was pretty much on a vegetarian diet, but God gave Adam and Eve and the descendants all the nutrients in the food through starches, the wheat and the barley and the rye and vegetables and fruits and nuts. We have a lot of great nuts, don't we? Do you like nuts? I love peanuts. Sometimes they don't agree with me. I have a hard time digesting nuts, but I love, like, here in Texas, we get pecans. I love pecans. I love cashew nuts. I love Brazilian nuts. In the Philippines, we have the pili nuts, which are like a Brazilian nut. They're very good, very nutritious. So I enjoy that. And I love peanut butter. One of my favorite sandwiches growing up was a fluffernutter. Anyone know what a fluffernutter is? Well, that's like marshmallow fluff. And that alone is not very good for you, but it tastes delicious. But you can get the healthy kind now at the health food stores. You can get the marshmallow fluff with peanut butter on some whole grain bread. Man, I used to eat those things like candy. It was so good. Really enjoy that. Just bringing back some memories here, thinking of nuts and peanut butter. But go and try it. Your kids will love it. So let's take a look at this chart. Now, the traditional food chart, based on an American diet, down at the bottom, you see we have bread and cereal groups. You've seen these charts before, right? And then you have the vegetable group. You're supposed to have 3 to 5 servings of that. The fruit group, so many servings. In the meat group and the milk group. And then the fats and sweets used sparingly. And that's what the recommended American diet is, the food pyramid from the FDA and Nutritional Council. And it's not bad. I mean, they try to do a best job. The problem is we don't follow it. So if you look on the bottom left, we call it the McDougall plan. Now, the McDougall plan is as close of recipes and diet plans that I could find that mimic the Genesis diet. And he has the foundation based on breads, starches, and fruits and vegetables. And when I say breads, I mean whole grain, rice, brown rice, whole grains, nutritious grains, which is what God created. Remember, God said from the very beginning, he gave them manna. It must have been good, because the Israelites ate bread every day. They ate manna, right? And so the Lord also said, man does not live by bread alone, but he had daily bread. I know in the Eastern cultures, they have daily rice, but eat good rice. Don't eat that refined stuff. Stay away from refined wheats and flours and rice. Eat whole grains. And so you look on the bottom right, what we add to the Genesis diet is nuts, because those nuts, like sunflower seeds and different nuts, have all those good oils in it, all those good nutrients. A lot of them have the minerals like manganese and the different B vitamins that our bodies need. And as our bodies are digesting some of those nuts, and you just eat them sparingly, but those good nuts get into our bodies quicker than taking vitamins and supplements. So, and they taste good and they fill us up. So we don't eat so much. We overeat too much today. What's the basic American diet today? Go out and get a double cheeseburger, right? Well, you got a little bit of bread, you got a little bit of cheese, and you got, a lot of meat. And the meat, the red meat today is going to have all kinds of fat and cholesterol in there, and it's going to start clogging your arteries as you eat. Now, there's nothing wrong with going out and having a good steak once in a while. I'm willing to say that because I love it myself. Our bodies are not made to eat it each and every day, 3 times a day. God created fresh fruits and vegetables and breads and nuts and seeds for us to eat and to enjoy every day, without having to go and kill an animal and process it and skin it and cure it and then cook it. He's given us things that we can just pick off a tree and eat it. If you ever eaten a whole apple or a whole orange, it's like a meal in itself. So it's very nutritious for you. So if you can, take a picture of this chart and then blow it up. It gives all the good fruits and vegetables, all the varieties. Look at the grains, the lentils, the whole grains, the flours, the squashes, the peas, the pastas, the legumes, and the beans. All those things that we should be eating. And then you have root crops and flowers and leafy vegetables and stalks, and you got fruits and then the nuts. So those are all the different varieties of food that God has created for us to enjoy. Now, let me get off here a little bit, and you can see that we need to have the proper balance, right? So as you shift from a rich Western diet to the Genesis diet, you will be greatly reducing the amount of fat and cholesterol you take in as you're removing all animal protein. Wow, it's the exact opposite of the carnivore and the paleo diet, right? So you're going to be removing naturally fat and cholesterol. And the shift will look something like this. Fruits and vegetables have no cholesterol. You can eat all the fruits and vegetables you want, no cholesterol, no fats. Maybe in avocados, but that's good fat, right? So in the Genesis diet, your fat consumption is going to be about 5% instead of 42% with cheeseburgers and hot dogs and all the meats that we eat. And your protein, you're going to get 10% protein because God is giving us proteins in many of the nuts and a lot of the grains and different elements that have protein, like tofus and things of that nature that have protein in it. And then instead of getting 12%, and it's usually much higher from animal protein, your carbohydrates are going to be higher. Yes, that's going to give you the energy. The carbohydrates are not bad. They are the energy. They're the things that give you energy so you're not sleepy all day long. Instead of a rich Western diet where you hardly get any carbohydrates and you end up being tired and druggy in the afternoon. So in Leviticus chapter 3, verse 17, God very clearly commanded the Israelites not to eat the fat. He said, it shall be a perpetual statute for your generations throughout all your dwellings that you eat neither fat nor blood. Okay, so also in Nehemiah 8, verse 10, and you can take a picture of this, but And even Daniel, if you remember Daniel and his three friends, when they went into went into Babylon, they didn't eat the meats, the king's delicacies. They ate a vegetarian diet, and they glowed better. Their skin was better, and they were more healthy and vibrant than those who were eating the unclean and meat-based diets. So, my friends, we need to right our imbalances now and get our lives in order and take charge of our health. Now, on this chart, you can see what happens when you consume a meal high in fat. The fats and the oils in our diet cause sludging of blood flow. And so, what that means is eventually those things will clog our arteries, block them off. Our blood pressures will go up, our cholesterol will go up, and we'll end up having to have surgeries, open heart surgery. It'll end up creating heart disease, and our livers can't function right because they can't process all the toxins from the fats and the oils, and we end up shutting down everything, and we end up getting one of those degenerative diseases that I mentioned at the start of our program. Now, if you want a degenerative disease, hey, get out there and eat some cheeseburgers and have some more steaks. But if you want to take charge of your health and you want to lower your cholesterol and have healthy arteries, then I'm recommending get on the Genesis diet. And I'll give you some links at the end to be able to know how to prepare proper diet planning and eating the right way. And I know many of you already do this to a degree, but maybe it's time to step it up a little bit, because a lot of us are having health issues because we are not careful on what we're eating. We eat too much fast food, too much processed food. So we have to be very, very careful of what we're eating. Now look at this chart. You'll see that dietary fat intake and breast cancers are related. And look at this. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you look at all the European and US, all of the countries that have a high-fat diet and the breast cancer rates. And then you start going down the chart to the lower left and look at the Philippines, Japan, and Thailand. Even El Salvador has very low percentages of breast cancers. That alone should tell you something, that these tropical, we will call them third world countries, but they're healthier than us because they're eating fresh fruits and vegetables and nuts that they can pick right in their backyard, and they're drinking teas and herbal teas, and they're not eating a lot of meat and fat because they can't afford it. It's too expensive. So they eat mostly vegetables and fruits, things that they can have readily available and grow in their backyard. So that should tell us something, that we have everything upside down and backwards compared to our brethren in some of these other countries. And I've seen it personally, and I know it. I mean, there's so many tropical food, like in the Philippines where I was. I mean, stuff was growing in my backyard. Moringa. Yeah, people are starting to finally learn what moringa is, but it's a little leaf that grows on a little tree. The tree's not very big. I used to pick those leaves and throw them in soup, put them in my smoothies. Those things are super antioxidants, and I would eat them fresh all the time. And Lugundi and Banaba and Gayabano, all these different herbs that I've only found overseas that are readily available, and they are like super antioxidants and very healthy and nutritious. So we can also look at osteoporosis, and selected nutrients. We can talk about hip fractures and the daily intake and the protein intake, and we can see the United States leads in hip fractures, in Sweden, and then look down in Singapore, Hong Kong, South Africa, these what we would call, not developed countries. Singapore is and South Africa is, but look at all the rates, how they get lower and lower because they don't eat as much animal protein. So there you go. I mean, there's a lot to learn about the high rates of osteoporosis related to hip fractures. And likewise, this even goes into to account the low intake of dairy products has no way harmed the bone, since these countries with the lowest intakes of dairy products like Hong Kong, Singapore, and Royal Africa have the lowest rates, and they don't drink a lot of milk over there. So they get those nutrients from the fresh food that they eat. Now, here we can see that when we eat starches, it satisfies our appetite with fewer calories. So take a picture of this chart because it has the women and men on the right-hand side. You can tell how high you are and what your weight should be. So I will challenge you to have your weight in line with your height. I'm about, I know I'm a little overweight because I'm getting older and it seems like I have to work harder, but I'm pretty close to my weight chart there. But I can do better also, just like each and every one of us. So take a screenshot of this because we are getting a little low on time. But the more starches that you eat and the vegetables and the fruit, they fill you up, and they do it with fewer calories. And so you end up getting good nutrients. You feel fuller longer. You're not snacking on junk food and, going to Starbucks and having those frappies and sugary drinks and sodas. And I didn't even mention about soda, right? But we're going to get into that later. But when you're eating unhealthy fast food, when you're eating starches and vegetables and fruits, you won't be inclined to go and eat fast food and snacks and have fillers throughout the day and throughout the afternoon. Now, a vegetarian diet increases your strength, just like Daniel and his 3 friends, right? It's been proven that those on a vegetarian diet get more nutrients in their body and they actually become stronger. It also will help lower your cholesterol and blood pressure, 2 of the leading causes of issues in America today. Now, but many will say, doesn't the Bible allow us to eat meat? Well, sure. But the fish that God permitted the Israelites to eat were the ones which have high omega-3 oils, which are good for the heart. However, moderation is essential. Now, Eskimos, who eat more fish than any other people in the world, also have the highest rate of osteoporosis of any people in the world. Many people believe that the Bible presents 3 diets to us. One is the Genesis diet, which is the healthiest, found in Genesis 1. The second adds the clean meats, making it the next healthiest, the biblical kosher meats. And then the third includes unclean meats, which we don't eat as Messianic believers, but it's very unhealthy, and many in the world eat this. God tells us 4 times in 3 verses that it is an abomination if we eat unclean fish and unclean meats. But guess what Americans eat? The unhealthiest of all 3 diets. The one that is an abomination. The unclean meats with porks and shrimps and oysters and lobsters and all the detoxifiers of the oceans, of the land that have been created to clean the oceans, detoxify the oceans. Man, I just saw where I think it was Walmart or somebody just had a recall on oysters or shrimp or something because it was radioactive. My goodness. But that's the job of the shrimp. And then we overfish these unclean things, and then nothing's cleaning the oceans, and the oceans get more toxic each and every day because we are harvesting all these unclean fish thinking that they're delicacies, but in reality, we're polluting our oceans and making them more toxic. And then we eat those, the ones that are left, they clean it up and they become more toxified. And then we end up eating that and we make ourselves more sicker, and the cancers are rampant because people are eating these unclean foods that are filled with toxins and poisons that settle into your fat and end up causing all kinds of degenerative diseases. My friends, Leviticus 11 clearly defines what God says is food and what we should eat. And many believers try to prove from a few misinterpreted verses in the New Testament that God has changed his mind and we are now free to eat unclean meat. Nothing could be further from the truth. We all know, or we should know in Acts 10, that God was talking about don't call any man common or unclean. Peter didn't say, oh, okay, let's go eat some pigs and everything else and some shrimps and oysters. And let's have pepperoni pizzas. No, he wasn't saying that at all. He was saying that God was breaking down the barriers that those who were Gentiles who were called unclean or common, they were now allowed to come into the whole house of Israel and be part of the family. Now, there is no record that Yeshua ever healed cancer, high blood pressure, or coronary disease. Why not? Because I suspect it was because these problems did not exist for those Jews living during those days, because they were eating a diet rich, a Genesis-based diet, very different from our Western diet of today. So I only have like 1 minute left here, so I'm going to blow through these next couple of slides, and we're going to pick it up next week. But one thing we add to the Genesis diet is rich omega-3 fish. Okay, and we recommend 1 to 2 servings of fish today, such as wild salmon, cod, red snapper, flounder, grouper, tuna, etc. Never eat farm-raised fish if it can be avoided. So here's your action plan. My friends, we're going to learn about the healthiest diet on the planet. We're going to learn, and I'm going to give you a link to the McDougall Quick and Easy Cookbook and the program for maximum weight loss. And my friends, we are going to enjoy good food, family, and friends. Now, next week, we are going to pick it up in lesson 3 about pure water. We're going to take charge of our health, and we're going to learn about pure water. So until next week, friends, God bless, and I will drop those links in the episode section shortly. God bless. Shalom. If you missed today's show or want to watch it again or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lambnetwork.tv, where you will find this show and all the other live Lamb Show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell someone about the Messianic Lamb Network. We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussions, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the lambnetwork.tv website. I'm Jeffrey Clark. Thank you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network. Thank you.